Freud was definitely a tweaker, with his anus realization and penis clarity and electra paradox, Oedipo solar plexus. Maybe we should be asking ourselves, why was he like that? How? Short answer, in spring 1884, on the 21st of April, he made his first reference to cocaine in a letter to her partner, Martha. He found it interesting and wanted to research it on his own for cardiovascular diseases, nervous weaknesses, and as a substitute to morphine, potentially curing his friend Fleischl-Marxow addiction. But most importantly, to make a groundbreaking discovery in order to gain notoriety and money, to wife the woman and live happily and worry-free. He also mentions how Theodor Askenbrandt used cocaine successfully to make super soldiers. His discovery would have soon been known in the First World War. No hunger, no fatigue, just... Freud also read about the ancient and mystical powers of cocaine dating back to the pre-Columbian civilizations, but we'll get to that later. 1 week after the 21st of April, he buys a shit ton of cocaine and tries it for the first time ever. He gives a couple whiffs to her sisters, her partner Martha, and his mentor Joseph Brewer, and his wife. He was hooked and very enthusiastic. He wrote a book about coke in 2 months. Uber Coca. But as soon as he fucked around, he started to find out. A couple years earlier, in 1871, Dr. Fleischl-Marxow had an incident while dissecting a body. He cut his thumb and got so infected he had to amputate his finger, which started proliferating nervous tissue uncontrollably, and the only way he could stop the unbearable pain was with morphine, to which he became addicted. This guy was lucky enough to meet Freud a couple years later, and eventually had a talk about cocaine in that spring of 1884, and here Freud started his research on treating morphine addiction with cocaine, which is already mind-blowing in itself. He gave a dose to the friend, which felt immediately better, euphoric, opposed to the usual depression an opioid addict would experience in withdrawal. Freud later claimed, without naming names, that he cured a friend with morphine addiction. In the article on the general effects of cocaine, surprised, a specialist in morphine addiction called Friedrich Erlenmeyer tried curing his morphine addicts with the methods described by Freud. You will excuse my laughter. With the methods described by Freud in the article, obviously obtaining catastrophic results. Erlenmeyer accused Freud of incompetence, to which he basically replied, "First of all, let the record show that you probably did it all wrong, and again, cocaine isn't harmful on itself. The harm comes from the morphine addiction. Coke is only harmful when you have a prior addiction, and coke is good, and you're probably retarded. Never mention my name again, or I'm storming your castle with blood and thunder." And in 1887, Freud published an article named Cocainomania and Cocainophobia, reporting what I said just now, as if Erlenmeyer was cocainophobic. Back to Marxow. Freud and Brewer were his caretakers. After a couple years, Marxow started having severe hallucinations, which is now known to be a symptom of late-stage cocaine addiction. But at the time, they thought it was delirium tremens given by the morphine, which he kept using. And Freud took care of his drug-induced hallucination and hysteria at night. Quite hardcore. But no worries. Freud had coke on his side to stay upbeat all night. Some schizophrenic asylum tweaker type shit. Joseph realized shit was bad, warned Freud about coke, but he said, "Nah, it's all good." Since Freud started having notoriety with coke, poor facial marks so kept being treated with cocaine. And after some time, started injecting a whopping 1 gram of cocaine per day due to tolerance buildup on top of the obnoxious amounts of morphine, and eventually died because what the fuck? Freud was sad, very sad, but not enough to stop fucking around, and during those years he started collaborating with an otolaryngologist by the name of Wilhelm Fliess, who used to sexually molest his son Robert. I don't know, I just read that on Wikipedia. Who recently published a study titled Relationship Between the Nose and the Female Sexual Organs, claiming there was a link between a woman's nose and pee-pee, and basically led to the belief that things like hysteria and other vaginal problems, such as periods, could be cured through the nose, calling it nasal reflex therapy. Whatever the fuck that means. Freud, in name of gender equality, also asked Fliess if he could cure a young naval cadet indulging in excessive masturbation, with talking nauseating levels of masturbation acting through the nose. Freud experimented nasal reflex therapy widely on himself. After snorting a couple lines, he decided to write Fliess a couple letters, basically saying, "It appears that I was able to extinguish for an hour a strong migraine of mine, as well as nasal inflammation with cocaine. The effect only took place after I treated with cocaine both nasal cavities. This granted immediate effects." Which meant cocaine was an easy road to local anesthesia and will benefit Fliess greatly in his operations, since he used to burn off the bleeding mucous membranes to cure hysteria. Oh, you have period cramps and mood swings. Let me just... Now, cocaine could theoretically substitute these methods in nasal reflex therapy due to its local anesthetic properties. You know, like when you don't feel your teeth and you do the... Not that I know. Soon in 1892, the opportunity to test this theory presented to the doctors, with the patient Emma Eckstein, a rather normal 27-year-old woman, with some problems. She lamented stomachache, depression, linked to her periods, and nosebleeds. Freud's diagnosis was, hysteria, you crazy bitch. Freud threw Emma on Fliess's operating bed, granting her he could fix her hysteria, backed up by some pretty positive feedback, which was probably due to patients being traumatized by Wilhelm burning up their noses and didn't want to deal with bullshit no more, so they just thugged it out and went far away on a desert island. Dr. Fliess decided to go overkill on Emma. Not only did he want to use cocaine and cauterize her nose, but also perform a surgical operation, which took place in the end of winter 1895. And it was a catastrophe. They also fucked up some gauze. Fliess thought he removed it completely, but shit got stuck in her nose and he almost killed her while trying to fix this mistake. He saved her just in time. Emma was disfigured in and out of her nose for the rest of her life, and would later become a patient of Freud's psychoanalysis due to the traumatizing event. Whatever. After the incident, Freud sent a letter to Fliess, which read, "After thorough reflection, we can't do nothing but feel bad for that poor kid. But I need a lot of cocaine!" Directly or indirectly, cocaine was ruining his life. You are ruining it. But problems with cocaine weren't unknown in Freud's time. As we said, he just wanted a successful research to earn money and fuck off with his wife. Too bad he lost his only chance for a successful research to Karl. whom he shared cocaine with that spring of 1884. Karl noticed its numbing effect in the mouth, something Freud was already well adjusted to, and later performed a successful eye surgery using coke as a local anesthetic. He promptly published his success and is now known for discovering local anesthesia, without mentioning Freud. His name was left out because during that time he went on a vacation with Martha. Anyways, back in the 1830s, Paolo Mantegazza and Friedrich Poppig were already pretty aware of the addiction cocaine caused, as well as mental and physical decadence, having seen its consequences on coqueros, Incas who chewed constantly on coca leaves rolled up in a quid, who didn't even sleep without the quid in their mouths. We have some statues of them, and tell me this guy ain't of a buzz. This guy plastered. This guy experiencing 3 levels of consciousness. You would only see coqueros without their quid while eating, underlying an undeniable slavery to coca leaves. The Chasquis, traveling messengers, used coca leaves to diminish fatigue and travel faster and more efficiently. They could run from Cusco to Tokyo in just 2 days and had enough energy to build the pyramids too. Freud minimized the well-known downsides of cocaine by stating that Poppig painted a horrible portrait of coke, and moderate consumption could better one's health, and that coqueros reached venerable ages. Which wasn't even true, they died like at 42. This video only shows a few incidents of Freud's history with cocaine. The official data says that Freud stopped doing coke after his father died in 1896. But a particular episode from February 27, 1907 makes us wonder what went on. That day, Freud met and invited to his study the famous Carl Jung. Allegedly, they sat and talked passionately for 13 hours. Philosophers would withstand talking for hours, maybe 4, maybe 5. Not Freud and Carl Jung. They sat for 13 hours! They sat for 13 hours straight! What the fuck? I think that Freud offered cocaine to Carl Jung. What?